What's up guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. My name is Dash Lifestyle. Kindly for watching me for the first time, remember to subscribe, like, share and also comment. So guys, in today's video I want us to watch this video from Jamaicans. They have come out and sent a warning message to their Prime Minister and also to the Caribbean and African leaders. So kindly guys, watch this video till the end, then I'll be back with more comment.
Did you know that in 1834 the Jamaican people, the Africans that were enslaved here, were tricked into fake freedom? Yes. So what happened is they told them that they were going to free the slaves, that they were being freed. But that was a fake freedom because the land that was stolen from their ancestors was not returned to them. The labor that they lost as slaves that would have enriched them was not returned to them. And most importantly, their intellect that was stolen by keeping them ignorant was also not returned to them. So when the so-called slaves were freed, they were simply free to go and beg a job from the existing landholders and wealthy people on the island. So that was a fake freedom. Then 100 years later, they gave them a fake democracy, the right to vote. One man, one vote, they told them. Again, our people were jubilant and excited because they thought they were really getting something. But that too was a fake democracy. They were able to vote, but they could only vote for the people that the colonial masters sanctioned as being okay. Worse than that, there was a governor that was appointed by Britain to sit over the whole process just in case anybody slipped through the cracks and want to make real change. So that was a fake democracy in 1944. By the way, that's 100 years from so-called freedom or emancipation in 1834 to democracy or the right to vote in 1944. You see the trick? If you were free back then, you should have been able to vote and have your own government, but that wasn't the case. It was a fake freedom. In 1944, they then again created a fake democracy, the right to vote, but somebody else behind the scene is controlling who to vote for. That's the same system you have today. Now they've made minor changes. Every time that we revolt, burn down some plantation, do some things to make them uncomfortable, they modify the trick. So in 1834, the trick was you're free to go beg a job. In 1944, the trick was you can vote, but for who we say you can vote for and with our backup guy in charge as governor. Now, after 18 years of that fake democracy, they then crystallized the whole thing into a fake, listen to me, fake independence, where they say, you're now independent, but we're going to keep our monarch, king or queen, as head of your country, and we'll give you a governor general who will sit there, look like you guys, but will really represent us, the colonial masters. And we'll have a privileged class in your society, the richer, wealthier ones, who we're going to use through your politics to control who gets elected. We call those the PSOJ oligarchs today. Back then, they were the plantocracy, those who owned the big agricultural estates. So that system made sure the rich and powerful control the electoral process. The entire process is still beholden to the colonial powers, and of course they will control you with loans and grants from your colonial empire. Okay, so that system from 1944 is still with us in 2024, except that the governor is now called a governor general. He's no longer a white man, he's a black man who is really protecting the colonial interest. And the colonial power sits as our head of state, as our monarch, and the plantocracy is now the PSOJ oligarchs that uses their money to control who you get to vote for. Yes, because you will never hear normally from the other people who might want to run, because you're going to hear from just the two parties that they brought into being. Did you know that these two parties were brought into being to destroy Marcus Garvey and get rid of his political party, which was more focused at the time on protecting the interest of the native Jamaican the African Jamaican, the people who were fighting for their freedom. They got rid of that and gave you two fake options who may sometimes sound very much to be on your side, but they're not on your side. They're fighting to keep a system in place that is colonial, a master-slave economic system that enriches a few at the expense of the many. That's what we have today. So remember, fake freedom in 1834. 100 years later, fake democracy in 1944. And still, the continuation of that system codified into a fake constitution in 1962 called the Jamaica Order in Council, or the Jamaican Constitution in brackets. It's a fake constitution. Now, those same two parties from 80 years ago that has helped to maintain the system, that same two party is now going to give you a proposal and say this is a reformed constitution. They may even call it a new constitution, but don't believe them. It will be a fake republic, just like it was a fake independence, a fake democracy, and a fake freedom. They're now going to push on you a fake republic. So what they're going to do now, they're going to take the existing governor general that used to be the governor, and they're going to change the title of that to president. But nothing much is going to change. It will just be the same kind of governor general figurehead up there. And even if they made it an executive president, what does that mean? How will that really help us one way or the other? You need to go beyond the optics and go for the substance, not just the form. It's time for us to move beyond being uninformed and unintelligent about our system and learn what's really going on. That's why the UIC exists. That's why I exist. My purpose, our vision as a movement, the UIC, is to educate you, empower you, so you will understand what was done to us in the past, so they don't get to do it again to us in the present. We must protect ourselves from the fake politicians, the misleaders, those who are working for our enemies, who are working against our interests, but pretending to be working for us, telling us that they love the poor and all. Don't fall for it. So here's what you need to know. In the current constitution, the Prime Minister is really the top dog. He controls everything. He nominates, or rather appoints, 13 members of the 21 senators. The opposition leader appoints 8 of those senators. It means the Prime Minister has the majority of senators and the opposition leader controls the rest. Why do that? That is so partisan and is so unhealthy for democracy. Why not have the parishes elect one person or 2 persons each as senators for their parish? That's what the UIC is proposing. Let's have independent elected senators instead of partisan political appointees who then are there to do the biddings of their respective parties or their party leader. Let's do away with that colonial model and have independently elected senators to defend and protect the interests of their respective parishes. Also, in the current system, the Prime Minister gets to appoint some members of the Senate into his cabinet as ministers of government. Wow, what a convoluted thing, because what you have just done now, you have undermined the credibility and created a conflict of interest with your senators being both senators and also members of the executive branch. The same thing is done with the members of parliament. You have the Prime Minister being able to appoint MPs to ministerial position. This creates a conflict of interest because the MPs and the senators are supposed to oversee and hold to account the executive branch, but now they're mixed up in it. The UIC will change all of that. We will have independently elected senators and we will have no MPs serving as ministers of government. Instead, what we're going to have are what we call subject matter experts. These are persons who are qualified and competent to serve as head of departments or head of ministries. So a transport minister will be somebody who's qualified for that. A healthcare minister will be somebody who's qualified for that. And what we're going to have is the executive branch of the government, the nucleus, with an elected president nominating a qualified person for each of these positions who are outside of the Senate and outside of the House of Representatives, and then have the Senate vet them publicly and the House of Representatives vote them in. So now you will have transparency and you will have quality. And that's one of the ways in which the UIC is going to fix the problem. There's a lot more, but join me on June 9th on One Jamaica TV or UIC Liberty TV on YouTube to learn more about how the UIC Jamaica is working for you. We're Jamaica's third official political party, and we're more than that. We're a movement to protect the life, liberty, and property rights of all Jamaicans.
Labour Right and PNP, Power and Shower, Orange and Green, that one you have for now. Something happened today where the item need to take note of, you know. It is alleged that Mr. Mark Golden's mother is passed away. And first, I must say, my deepest condolences to you, sir, Mr. Mark Golden. But there is something that Labour Right and PNP need to pay attention to and learn from it. Mr. Andrew Holness send his deepest condolences to Mr. Mark Golden and speak good. So there's a lot there to learn. Labour Right and PNP. All of the Labour Right and PNP them, we are carry hatred and grudge. For them one another want to kill off them one another over Labour Right and PNP business. The item need faith. Look what happened, you know. When Mr. Mark Golden old lady passed away, you know, and all Andrew Holness relate to it, you know. I saw them for live in a Rasta. I saw them for live and stop the hate and envy and want to kill off on the way all the while over politics. Because Mark Golden and Andrew Holness understand what is politics, you know. So when you see them I throw lyrics off of them one head and a mouth them one head and I throw word off of them one head. A politics them a deal with. Them not hate them one head and then they want to kill off them one head. But uno the followers, we so no dieted. Why the eye them always a go on like say uno want to kill off uno one head over these two people? Eh? You think so that right? The eye them need to wake up in a Rasta. Let me tell you something. Me and a politician, you know. I'm in a deal with politics. My policy is non-political and non-violence. You understand? That means that any government in a power and not behave right. And me I go lick lightning over there. Me just slap lightning without partiality. Mr. Andrew Holness in a power now, and he not behave right, and me go slap two lightning ball over the side. Me lick lightning over there. And if Mr. Mark Golden come in and now go and right, me go knock lightning ball over the toe. I make them know, sir, what time is it? I make them know, sir. When the people them put them in there for do a job, them for just do the job right and proper. So, one of the people, we are kill up on themselves over these two people. But they need to stop it, man, and learn from this. What happen now? Me, I'm going to end that video here. Mr. Mark Golden, my deepest condolences to you, sir. Sorry for your last. And Labour Right and PNP, go vote for who no want to vote for. Nobody not supposed to tell nobody who to vote for. Choose on a party and vote. But always keep it peaceful. And stop upping on one other face like on our enemy. Right, so. One Jamaica. Me! Shocking Morris said that.
A special greetings to our Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Michael Holness. I was one of the many that was rooting for you to be elected. I thought it would have been easier for you to relate to us as young people. Mr. Prime Minister, I see a lot of people are bash you, but 7 brothers, 7 different minds. Me believe say a man supposed to get him credit if him work for it. So with that being said, I have 4 words to describe you as our Prime Minister. And nobody no need to agree with me. These are my 4 words and this is my opinion. My first word is disrespectful. My second word is incompetent. My third word is egotistical. And my fourth and final word is unfair. Mr. Prime Minister, maybe you're a good person, who knows, but as a leader, you're toxic, and Jamaicans deserve better.
So Mr. PJ is trying to slam the Andrew Holness-led administration. I do respect Mr. PJ, but it was under your government Jamaica crash. Poverty skyrocketed to almost 50%. The murder rate moved from 400 straight up to 1600. The dollar spiraled out of control. Literally, interest rate went up. Everything went up. Inflation was like 70% under your government, sir. Listen, give a personal experience. Under your government, meat, see food without meat. My grandfather have to fry up chocha with fat. For put pan if you try to mitigate the circumstances. My grandfather have to go up in a hilltop at one pint. Cause look while you have to feed way. Chicken back, throughout the week, chicken back on Sunday. To the pint now one time I see chicken back, me frowns pan it. Like the scent literally sick me too much, me consume it. From back in my boyhood days. So please, Mr. PJ, I think you need to just relax yourself, go home and make the most credited administration in the history of Jamaica do their work, sir. Because the data that you're speaking does not back this up, sir.
Question to the Prime Minister Andrew Holness and the Jamaican people, please listen to the end and drop your comments.
Wonderful, lovely Jamaican people, yard and abroad. Anyway, over the globe, the one son is a Jamaican. Blessed love. And once there's anybody, not just Jamaican alone, once there's a human being, big up yourself. But me I go run some numbers, and then we are go reason for the numbers them when we run. Alright. $136. That's a US, you know. $136 a US a day. Them work when you work per hour, cause American them work per hour. So when they American you work per hour, you get a $17 per hour, and for the 8 hours it would have calculate to 136. Alright, we are gonna run another number again. $16,000. Bear that in mind, you know. 136 for the day in America at $17 an hour. We are going to run another number. We are going to run 16,000 Jamaican dollar. You see me? We are going to run another number, you know. You see, for the year, if you work 16,000 Jamaican dollar for the year, you are going to end up with 76,800. 76. Oh yeah. 700. We are run another number, you know. We say 768,000. And then we are going to run another number. We are going to say $28 million. When we say 136, when we say $28 million, when we say $16,000, and when we say $768,000, I'm going to explain all of them now. You see the first, we are going to start with the 136. 136, that's a US dollar. That's how people work for the day in the US. $136 our US citizens them work per day at $17 per hour for 8 hours per day. I not go put it in at the 40 week. I left only to check the 40 week. That's what I say. Alright, Jamaican minimum wage workers them work $16,000 per week. Alright. The Prime Minister get $28 million per year. Minimum wage worker get $768,000 per year. So I show you the difference, you know, between the politician where I get $28 million and the minimum wage worker where I get 700. More to be exact, you know, it's 768,000. So minimum wage worker for the year don't get $1 million Jamaican dollar. Listen to me carefully, you know. In a Jamaica, working at minimum wage, I'm check it at $16,000, you know. I check it at $16,000. I'm not check it at the 15. You see me? I check it at 16. You see what I say? So, my question is this now. To every well-thinking Jamaican people and every wise people in Jamaica. You see what I say? Do you think it right for the US, where the US citizen them work in America for one day can cover where a Jamaican person work for the whole for a week? You see me? And it go over like $100 US. You know? Remember right now, today in a day and age, $100 US are $16,000. You see me? I say 100, and American people for them one day, the America $130. You see me? So them still one day still work a whole heap more than where we work in a Jamaica. You see me? I say, and me I want to ask Mr. Andrew Holness this. How you fear get $28 million for the year and the people them just get 700? Them even get $1 million minimum wage worker. Why you are do so much fear get so much money? You see me I say? That me I ask. That's one of the questions them me I ask. I mean I ask now again. Do you think it right for the government officials them where does drive around a government pay, go taxpayer vehicle, live off a taxpayer money? The same minimum wage worker, you know. You see the same minimum wage worker we are work, and them I pay the taxpayer money and all of them things. And the government I get $28 million for the year, and him just out of him. Out of him, poor people taxpayer money, and then poor people just get 786,000. And I wonder if it makes sense. So me I ask all of the well-thinking Jamaican people, whether you are Labour right or you are PMP, once you are working at the industry in Jamaica, me I ask you if you don't think it right. You see me I say? Right now, everybody in Jamaica want to strike, want to top work. Anybody will work from bum buckler minimum wage for top work. Because we all me see the people them go so and beat down the place. You see me beat down the place when the man say I put on $1,000. Me I say, yo, them people are wicked and blood clot, you know, and then you gotta have some idiot fool dunce, fully blood clot dunce Jamaican people that go run back at them and say, yo, them a do something good. Them a do something good. Father God. If you know, if God was like man, remember me telling you, you see any day God becomes like man, remember me telling you, because that me I try to show you, and then I go say, do something good for the people them of the country. Not do nothing good for the people them of the country. Do the statistic. Run the numbers them. Just run the numbers them. You see me I say if an American can work $130 for the day. You see me I say $130 American for the day, you know. You see me? And that can cover your week's pay. You see me? And we not go down in a broken down that money there and say, alright, let's see if we can work out and make the money make sense. You work $16,000 for the week. You live call it say you live up Augustown, and you live at Dreadites. Alright, and you work downtown, or you work halfway tree, or crossroad. You see me I say, how much a day for tax money? How much a day for taxi fare? Going to work and coming back from work. How much a day for lunch money? Out of your $16,000 for you eat throughout the week. As I say, you have 2 youth for go to school. How you balance out that? You have light bill for pay, you have water bill for pay, you have internet bill for pay, you have land tax to pay. As I say, you still have food for buy at your yard. Tell me how to work out that. Make it make sense now. Mr. Prime Minister, more you go back on the drawing board. Mr. Andrew Holness, you and your team where you advise every team where you advise them want to go back on the drawing board and make this make sense. Me I tell you, say, boy, Jamaican people need to wake up, you know, because I say enough of a bum buckler fool and idiot. And I say, I'm an idiot. You don't have no sense. If you don't listen to them things and then I pay for them and I make them make sense, you don't have no sense. Believe? You never know until you know. I'm out.
which is the colonial legacies. And of course, a lot of people say, well, come on, colonialism is over. It's been, several decades since independence, but we have the unfinished business of decolonizing economic structures. So I focus on the economic structures that actually produce the results that we're looking at. So when it comes to the colonial role that was imposed on the African continent, it can be summarized in 3 basic points. Number 1, we're supposed to be the place for cheap raw materials for the industrialized world. We still play that role today. Number 2, we were supposed to be the place that consumes technology and industrial output from the global north. We still play that role today. And number 3, and most importantly, we're supposed to be the place where obsolete technologies, assembly line manufacturing that is no longer needed in the industrialized world is outsourced to us under the label of development, cooperation, job creation, technical assistance, all of that. But effectively what it does is that it permanently locks us at the bottom of the global value chain. That was the role we played during colonial times. And unfortunately, that is the role we continue to play today. So colonialism, of course, was not a system for development. It was not designed to achieve sustainable development goals or a just transition or justice or anything. Colonialism was a system of extraction, of abuse. We should not be surprised that the same colonial structures, economic colonial structures that persist today are producing these bad results of malnutrition, of poverty, of socioeconomic exclusion. So that's why in the context of the just transition and the context of decarbonization, we always say we cannot decarbonize a system that hasn't been structurally and economically decolonized yet. And when it comes to kind of the visible manifestation of these problems, the issue of external debt, that is debt denominated in foreign currencies, in dollars and euros. It is a serious problem because it takes a huge amount of fiscal policy space that doesn't allow our governments to invest in the building blocks of development and prosperity, such as basic health and education and infrastructure, because we have to prioritize paying the external debt. But external debt is actually a symptom of deeper structural issues that have colonial roots. Number 1, food deficits. Number 2, energy deficits. And number 3, manufacturing deficits. And I can explain each very briefly so we can understand why these are fundamental. When I say food deficits, according to UNCTAD, the UN Conference on Trade and Development, Africa today imports 85% of its food. 85%. When less than 100 years ago, during colonial times, we used to be the breadbasket for colonial powers. And what happened is that there's a redesign of the system as soon as we gained independence. In 1955, for example, in Europe, at the Treaty of Rome meeting, the Europeans said we have a food security problem for Europe because they were so dependent on Africa. And that introduced a common agricultural policy, which is in place to this day. So what is CAP? It's heavy agricultural subsidies to produce the core crops in Europe, such as corn and wheat and soybean and the core food security items. And of course, it wasn't just Europe that did that. It was the United States, Canada, Australia, the former Soviet Union, which is why Russia and Ukraine today dominate the grain industry. And what it did is that it forced African farmers out of business because they couldn't compete with the subsidized wheat and corn coming from the global north. So we had to redesign our agriculture to specialize in cash crops for exports. Coffee, tea, tobacco, bananas, all the complementary items. So today we live in a world where we consume what we don't produce and we produce what we don't consume. And that's why we have real food insecurity on the African continent and the rest of the global south, obviously. So that's the food deficiency. Number 2, energy deficiency. When I say energy deficits in Africa, I include our biggest oil exporter on the continent. Nigeria today imports 100% of its gasoline, not by accident, by design. Angola, our second largest oil exporter, imports 80% of its fuel from international markets. So we're constantly denied the technology processing, the technology for drilling, the technology for refining. So we export crude oil, we import refined petrochemicals. You export the cheap stuff, you import the more expensive stuff. So you're always in a deficit situation. And finally, the manufacturing deficits, the fact that the only type of manufacturing base that we were allowed to have is the kind where we have to import the machines, We have to import the fuel to power the factories. We have to import the intermediate components to be assembled with low-cost labor. And we even import the packaging. So we end up with the value-added content of what we export is low value added. What we import is high value added. So you can double, triple, quadruple your exports. You're always locked at the bottom of the value chain. And here's how it's manifested. You have these structural deficits, the most fundamental areas. As you know, no country can function without food, without fuel, without manufacturing. So we have structural trade deficits. And what structural trade deficits do is that they weaken our currencies relative to the dollar, relative to the euro. And with the weaker currency, anything I need to import the next morning, whether it's food or fuel or medicine, you import it at a higher price. So we literally import inflation in the most sensitive areas of the economy, therefore hurting the most vulnerable people in society. And that immediately forces our governments into a defensive position to protect the most vulnerable. So what do? We subsidize food, we subsidize fuel, which makes sense to protect the most vulnerable, but you can't do that for 8 decades. And we ask our central banks to stabilize the exchange rate, to fight inflation. And the way they do it is by using a band-aid solution, which is borrowing more dollars. And that gets the external debt into a vicious cycle that is unsustainable, which means now the government is completely obsessed with prioritizing economic activity that will allow us to earn dollars as quickly as possible so that we service the debt. And we deprioritize economic activity that is actually transformational, that is actually the foundation of development and prosperity. And that is the essence of why we neglect so many of the priorities. And that's why a lot of the fiscal policy space that our governments have is dedicated to servicing the debt, which is by design the colonial architecture that was imposed on us. So that's why we say we can't really achieve the sustainable development goals or a just transition or any of the goals that we want to achieve under a system, an economic system that's still structurally colonized when we have economies that are technically steered from abroad.
So guys, I hope you have watched that video from Jamaicans. They have come out and sent a message to their prime minister and also to the Caribbean and African leaders. For me, I really love to share this message with the black leaders because I know we black people, our revolution, it has started and we need to know exactly what it is happening in the Caribbean and also in our African countries, because I know majority of the black people in the Caribbean, they also they came from here in Africa. And also I love to share what it is happening in Africa, and also I love to share what it is happening in the Caribbean, and also I always talk about what it is happening to our black Americans who they are in the western countries. And this video that you have already seen, it is a message that needs to go to all the black leaders, because right now we are seeing how the Western people, they are still destabilizing our country, how the Western people, they don't want to free our black countries in the Caribbean. Like for example, I can talk about Jamaica. You have heard that Jamaica, they were given fake independence. Jamaica, they were given fake freedom. So the colonizers, they are still the head of the state in Jamaica, and because of that, we are seeing up to date Jamaica, it is not being developed, because when the government, they want to build more schools, you will find out that they must ask the permission for the permission to the colonizers. When these people, when Jamaican government wants to build more hospital, they need to ask permission, because also the colonizers, they are also controlling the banks, the bank in Jamaica. So this is tell you that the colonizers, they have not yet leave some of the black countries in the Caribbean alone. You can see what it is happening in Haiti. The Asian people, they decided to come out and fight for their country, because also the colonizers, the Western people, they were turning their leaders to be a puppet. They were turning their leaders to be a sellout leaders, the corrupt leaders, simply because majority of the Asian people, they were not benefiting from what they are having to their country. So because of that, they decided to come out and fight for their country. And up to date, we are seeing they are still fighting for their country, and all this, it is because of the Western people. So this is to tell you that Jamaica also, they need to be free from the hands of the colonizers, because the colonizers, they are still dragging Jamaican behind. And it is not only in Jamaica, also we are still having that problem to our African countries, because you will see like the country in Nigeria. Nigeria, it has the oil, it is the produce of the oil, but you will find that the people who are benefiting from this oil, it is the Western people. Because of these Western people, they have turned their leaders to be a puppet leaders, to be a sellout leaders. Majority of Nigerians, even now, they can't access to their own oil. They cannot see the benefit of having this oil in their soil, in their country, because the people are benefiting so much. It is the Western people, and their leaders, they have participated so much by selling out their product, to whereby majority of Jamaicans, they are living poor, they can't afford food, they are on the street. It is and yet they are having the natural resource that God gave them, which needs to get them out of poverty. But you will find the leaders, they are the ones who are making their country to be dragged behind. So I want to tell the Caribbean and African leaders to wake up, because we need to stop these people exploiting our country. We need to stop these people destabilizing our country. We need to have a full independent. We need our leaders to work according to the will of the people. Like majority of Jamaicans, they have been complaining about Chinese taking over their country. We have seen right now the Jamaican government, it has allowed the Chinese to do business, the Chinese immigrant to do business in Jamaica without paying tax for a period of 5 years. You can imagine, you allow the foreigners to come to your country, work and do the business for 5 years without paying any tax, and yet Jamaican businesses owners, they cannot even skip a day without paying tax. So this is tell you that you are killing the local jobs. You want the foreigners to come and take over your country, and because of that, we have seen right now the biggest supermarket, the biggest stores, the biggest hotel, it is being owned by the Chinese. It is being owned by the foreigners. This is because of the Jamaican government allowing giving more opportunity, giving more freedom to the foreigners than their local. So right now, majority of Jamaicans, they are complaining the Chinese, they are taking over. The Chinese, they are owning big businesses in Jamaica. And the Jamaicans, it has made the majority of Jamaicans to close their shop, because of they cannot compete with the people, with the foreigners who they are coming to their country, do the business without paying tax. So because of that, we have seen majority of Jamaicans, they have closed down their shop. So for me, I can tell you that the Jamaican government needs to wake up, and that this is one of the reasons to why majority of Jamaicans, they have come out and send a message to their government, to their prime minister, because all this problem, it is starting with our leaders. Our leaders, they are being a puppet. Our leaders, they are being bought. Our leaders, they are being allowed. They have been given more money by these foreigners, so that they can allow them to do more business and to take advantage in their country. And for me, I can tell you that it will reach to a point whereby, if the Jamaican government will continue like that, the Chinese or the foreigners will come out and also find a place in their government. You will find out that there will be a Chinese president in Jamaica. Yeah, you will find there will be a Chinese president in Jamaica. I know Jamaica, it is a mixed race country, whereby we are having also the Chinese Jamaica, but we are having these foreign Chinese who they are coming to Jamaica. Those are the people who are taking more advantage of Jamaicans. So for me, I can tell you that we need to change. As black people, we need to change, and also we need to be free from these colonizers, because majority of the colonizers, they don't want to leave our country alone. They don't want to give us full independent freedom. They don't want to leave our countries, because they know they're benefiting so much in our country. So because of that, I need to tell you, to our black leaders, that you need to stop becoming puppet. You need to work according to the will of the people. We need to see you cutting ties with the Western, with the colonizers, with the Western people, because these people, they can't do without us. These people, they're depending so much to our country. we as black people, we are not depending so much to their country. No, we are not depending so much to their country. It is them who they are depending so much to our country. They want our resources, they want our gold, they want our oil, they want our country, they want our land, simply because they know also our land, it is blessed. We usually eat a fresh organic food, but for them, they don't know about organic food. It is very rare for them to get organic food. So this tell you that these people, they are so much interested with our land, and that's why they are doing anything possible to turn our leaders to become puppets, so that they can still have access to our resources that we are having here in Africa and the black countries in the Caribbean. So kindly guys, like this video. If you haven't liked, subscribe. Let's meet in the next one. Bye bye.